Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. Today we're looking at an updated QuagNag deck from Unbroken Bonds. Many people think this is a much better archetype going into the new set. Obviously there's lots of fire stuff coming out, ReshiZard Charizard being a tag team that can go down to a non-GX Quagsire for just 4 energy. That's pretty tempting, right? And that's the main reason people are looking at this archetype all over again. We do have some low-key buffs in the deck as well. The Quagsire being a new fighting type alternative to Onix, which I believe is stronger, as well as Pokegear as well, and that's a big deal, I think. One of the sort of weak underbellies of this deck was that you could just brick a lot, and giving yourself Pokegear in the list is very tempting, and I think very strong as well. So playing around with Pokegear has been great, trying to limit that clunk factor and losing to Let Loose factor, which many decks just say, I don't mind about the Quagsire, even if it's a bad matchup, just because I can let loose and win. So having Pokegears at your side is hopefully trying to make things a little bit easier for you to make sure that you can still get into the game and start building this crazy board and really be difficult to deal with. There's obviously the other headache of Mew coming out in this set. Obviously Magikarp and Wailord's Towering Splash is oftentimes a late game win condition for this deck. That can be denied from us now that people are playing Mew, but it's down to how many decks actually will end up playing Mew. I think a lot of tag team decks will play it because they don't want to lose to Pikarom, and I think there are still a handful of decks like Malamar and Zapdos Beasts which won't really have the space for it, and I think that's initially why Magikarp and Wailord was in the deck anyway, so I think he's actually still good and still fine. There'll be a handful of decks that just randomly add Mew, which is somewhat of a concern. It sort of hurts your comeback factor in the deck, but overall I think this is still a very reasonable archetype and one to keep an eye out for in the new set thanks to his great type coverage. So let's jump into the list, starting off with 4 Woopers. We do have new fighting ones, but you still want these because you have Aqua Patches, of course. Then we have a 3-1 split of Quagsire. Washout's a phenomenal ability that we are building around in this deck. As often as you like during a turn, move a water from one of your bench to your active. So literally just having to use Aqua Patches, manual attachments, and charging ups from Naganadels helps you fuel all this so that you can wash it out and start attacking with the active just for the perfect amount that you need. Hydro Pump for 3 colors does 60 plus 20 more for each water energy attached to this guy. So 120 basis effectively because we have nothing but basic water in this deck for the 3 cost. And you can just keep attaching more and more and more to the active to scale up that damage as well. So something to bear in mind. Very, very nice attacker that we do use a lot in this deck, of course. Now that we are Baton focused, we will be sending Quagsires into the front lines and making him attack a lot of the time with Hydro Pump. So do bear that in mind. That's why we have a very thick count. We also have the 1 fighting type Quagsire. I've seen some debates around whether this is stronger or weaker than Onix overall, and I'm on the side leaning towards the Quagsire being stronger. I think I have 3 reasons really why. The first one is that it's just straight up more efficient. It's 1 less energy to attack with Surf to one-shot Picaroms and Zoroarks, which is great. Obviously, we're trying to retain energy as often as possible with this deck, and especially with Baton, it means this is effectively a free attack as well, so that's really awesome. So there's the small 1-up against Onix. I think that's my least biggest argument of the 3 for why I like this one. But, you know, here and there, that 1 energy is still good. It makes him more immediate because it's like 1 less Nag or 1 less Aqua Patch that you need in play to start swinging with him, so that's pretty reasonable. I think my main reason is that you want to have more Woopers in play anyway, and the bench space that Onix takes up is, like, dead a lot of the time, other than the fact that he is literally just an attacker. Like, that's the only purpose Onix has. Whereas if you keep having, like, 3 Woopers on your bench, like, that's fine. It means you're defending against people grinching your Woopers and grinching your Quagsires, and, like, you can happily bench that 3rd one now in most matchups, knowing that you can still get value from this Quagsire later down the line. So I think that's awesome. And the other reason is just starting Onix is so horrible. We have no switching cards in this deck, so if you're up against anything that's not fighting weak, if you start that Onix, you just have to keep swinging with Onix until he's dead, like until your opponent deals with them for you. And, you know, if they Guzma around the Onix and stuff, then that's a dead space on your board for later on. So I think I prefer the Quagsire just because starting Hooper's better and never a problem for you, and putting more Woopers into play is never a problem for you either. So it's a much less invasive card than the Onix is. You're sort of just jamming him in here for the matchup, whereas Quagsire fits in, you know, it's the same tech space slot, but you were already playing a 4-3 line of Quagsire anyway, so it doesn't change much in that regard. And it means you don't ever get punished for starting him in a matchup where he's not useful. So that's my main reason. I think the main argument for the Onyx is he's easier to reload. Like, if an Onyx just swings and then dies to, like, a Righteous Beating or whatever, you can just Stretcher, get him back all in one turn. Whereas it's a bit more difficult for us to reload the Quagsire, because we probably already want to have one washout in play and then, like, a backup Wooper just in case. So the only way we would be able to reload this Quagsire would be to, like, Stretcher back this guy whilst also finding another Wooper so that we don't run out of washouts. That's the main sort of argument for the Onyx. Whereas, like, if you're attacking with Onyx, you don't mind if he goes down ever, just because you can just reload him pretty easily. So that's the reason why I like this guy over Onyx. It's a long discussion and one that I've thought about a lot, but overall I think this guy is just slightly better. From there, we have a 2-2 line of Naga. Charging up's a phenomenal ability. It's what we use to reload, and obviously means that we're a lot less reliant on just Baton. This deck is very Baton focused, especially if we're trying to build towards 8 energy for Towering Splash. But right now, charging up is sort of our backup. It means that we like throwing additional energies into the discard pile with Viridians and Ultra Balls and whatnot, so that we can get them into play like that much easier. So that's always great. And we have Turning Point, definitely an attack to bear in mind. 80 plus 80 more if you have exactly 3 prize cards remaining. Sometimes it's more efficient than just throwing a Quagsire with like 6 or 7 energy into the active, when you could just do a Turning Point turn as well, so bear that in mind. It's something we will use a good amount of times. And also gives us a 3rd type coverage in Psychic, so bear that in mind if you are coming up against anything weak to Psychic. 1 copy of Ditto Prism Star. It's a 5th Wooper or a 3rd Poipole, so very strong here. And then we have 3 sort of tech one-offs. We have the sort of spread package still in the deck. The Volcanion Prism Star is just too good not to play. 160 hit points on a basic is very annoying to deal with for a lot of decks. Jet Geyser is more discarding synergies for these water energies. You can discard one just to get it in the bin for yourself, but at the same time force your opponent to switch their active. So here and there it can stall. It can move Jirachis out of the way turn 1 to hurt your opponent's opening turns. You can do a few different cool tricks with this Jet Geyser. It's a very nice ability to have. And then we also have Sauna Blast for 3 water. You do 120 to each of your opponent's bench. As mentioned earlier, Mew has crept into the format thanks to Unbroken Bonds now. So this spreading may not be all that relevant anymore, but still 100 for 3 is relatively efficient on a non-GX with this much hit points. And if you are going for the spread route, if you're not getting denied by Mew, you're setting things up that have more than 100 hit points to get in range of Magikarp and Wailord for later on. So bear that in mind. Very, very good stuff. Magikarp and Wailord is a colossal it's a colossal basic with 300 hit points. Super Splash does for 5 water, 180 damage. Knocks out the Denes and Lele's, which is still running rampant around the format. And we have the Towering Splash GX attack, which does 10. But if you have 8 energy attached to you, you do 100 to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and 10 to that active still. So it can really help us just board wipe things, Jirachi-based builds, Malamars, stuff like that is what we're really looking for. I keep mentioning that Mew's a thing now, so it's not always a late game win condition for us anymore, so do bear that in mind. But he still is a big threat, and he is out of range for things like ReshiZard as well, so you can throw the 5 energy onto him, swing with him, knowing that he'll just tank, and you can swing again with him to take like 5 prizes on his own back. So he's normally a very, very strong card. Obviously, ReshiZard can kill this if they have 6 energies, but you're not going to bench it if that's the case. And, you know, you'll use it to kill their first ReshiZard, and then they can't get 6 energy out of nowhere a lot of the time. So, yeah, pretty good card overall. From there, we have the one Oranguru. It's going to just save your life a lot of the time. This deck can have a big clunk factor involved, so having Instruct, especially when we can lower our hand size so easily with the likes of Viridian Forest, Ultra Ball, and just having a lot of Instra plays, like our Batons can start flying around the board, lots of basic Pokemon that we can start benching. Instruct just helps you in that awkward early phases, and even throughout the mid-game, because it's not just good enough to get that early board presence going, because we're attacking with our stage 1. It's a continuous struggle to keep finding our next Baton and our next Quagsire and stuff like that. So Instruct's going to help us get there. Psychic is also an attack to bear in mind, I guess. It's another one of these things where you can just stick the Baton on Monkey and start swinging with him if you really want to as well. Especially if you're against lower hit point stuff. You can take some easy prizes that way. Onto the trainers. One's Counter Catcher is our only gusting effect in the entire deck. Obviously, we are oftentimes going behind because our attack costs are all 3 and up. So we're trying to build up our board. Normally, in doing so, we'll go behind because we're trying to evolve and do all that good stuff. But it means we can gust later on. We're not playing Guzma in here. I've gone between playing 1 and 0. Currently at 0, just for the consistency element, because I'm trying to, you know, show off the deck in a good light rather than showing how much it can clunk, which is definitely something that could happen when we get into these games. But the Counter Catcher is great because, you know, it's a item card, so we can still support it for turn, get drawing, try and find our next Baton, try and find our next Quagsire, build towards more Nagas, all that stuff, and still have that gusting effect in there as well. So I think that's the thing to bear in mind. You don't have many turns to just freely Guzma stuff because you're so focused on trying to build your board continuously. So I think the Counter Catcher is a perfect solution. From there, we have 3 copies of Aqua Patch. This, again, is trying to lower the reliance on our Wishful Batons, which we are very much reliant on. But this can help, as well as being early burst for extra attachments. For example, on turn 2, if you want to attack with like a Volc Prism or something, it means you only need to have 1 Quagsire in play rather than Quag and Nag, because the Aqua Patch can serve as that extra attachment here and there. So that's always something to bear in mind. And again, mainly as a defense to Baton being blown away. 3 copies of Pokegear. I think this is a huge addition to the deck, to be honest. It's just going to help Jank Factor, help us find more supporter cards so that we have a chain of draw throughout the entire game, and that's a huge relief for this deck, to be honest. 3 copies of Rescue Stretcher. I've said that we're trying to maintain Quagsires every turn, and that's pretty much it. Also maintaining Nagas, or if they're going to try and target Monkey or anything, we can recycle those. Also, it means that sort of early game, if we're trying to get extra Instruct draws in, you can just throw away some of these tech Pokemon. You can like throw away your excess Nags or your Magikarp Wailord and stuff if they're not useful, and you can just stretch them back later on because we have such a high count. We can always go for that play later down the line whilst also getting extra Instructs here and there, so something to bear in mind. 3 Nest and 4 Ultra to get all of our Pokemon out, all makes sense. Ultra will having the extra benefit of discarding Waters if we are able to, which is something good to note. 3 copies of Viridian. Previous builds played 2, but they were also playing Acrobike instead of Pokegear, so I've tried to even that out by having a 3rd Stadium for extra removal. It's an insta-play. It can lower our hand size even further to make our Lilies and Cynthias even stronger, so something to bear in mind. And then we have 10 draw supporters total. 2 Erika's Hospitality. I think this is an excellent supporter card in this deck. I mean, in many decks, it's very strong, just because there are so many board-focused decks right now that you can get a lot of value from this Erika's. It means you can hold on to things like stretchers and stuff for the following turns, whilst also gaining hand advantage to keep working towards these stage 1s. And then we're going to have the Lilies for great early game presence. And, you know, once again, we have so much discarding from the Stadiums and the Bulls, and so many insta-plays here that the Lilies are oftentimes getting value in the mid-game already. And the 4 Shuffle Draw Cynthias, always pretty reasonable. 4 copies of Baton, because the item is still integral for this deck. To retain those 3 energy cards, throw them back to the bench so we can wash them out onto a new active for our following turn. And then we have the 10 Waters to round out the deck. I think from the new set, there isn't much else I would be considering from this deck, to be honest. I think there are a few consideration cards. The first one is a very interesting tech card in Buzzwole Pheromosa, the new tag team. It seems like this card has no synergy whatsoever, but don't forget that there is a grass, water, fire unit energy that you can use. And if you think there's enough Mew in the format to make Magikarp and Wailord not very good, try this tag team as a finishing move. Beast Game with the 1 unit energy and then 7 Waters on him can take an additional 4 prize cards for taking a knockout. So if you're able to set something up with Quag or Nag, or even with Volc Prism doing spreads on stuff, like imagine spreading onto a Jirachi and then Beast Game GXing it for 5 prize cards. That's a pretty good comeback. So I think if you want to get kooky and fit in this Buzzmosa as well as like 2 unit energies, I think that would definitely be a very cool way to go about playing this deck. The sort of disadvantages of Buzzmosa is you have to add in the spaces for less basic energy cards. You need to make space for those units, which are not synergistic with the deck whatsoever. You can't Baton them. You can't charge them back up. You can't search for them with Viridian either. So there's a small disadvantage to the Buzzmosa adding into this deck, and that's why I've not done it, because I just want to show a simple build. But overall, I think it's something that could be very, very cool. You could really cheese wins with this card, which is excellent and great fun. The final thing I would add is Guzma. Guzma is something that I really want to work in, to be honest. I've been testing this with a good amount of friends, and they all like playing one Guzma. It's something that I've sort of been a fan of. It can be one of these cards that people aren't expecting. They only ever expect Counter Catcher in the list. So giving yourself that extra gust can be really big, especially now that there's more fire stuff that you can hit for weakness on benches, especially because there's the Dene, which is a really nice GX to take out in addition to Lele. There's more sort of reason to play Gust right now. So there is definitely that factor there, which I would consider as being a really useful thing to have. If you want to make the space, you can cut the third Viridian, or cut a Pokegear, or even one Erika's. Those would be the slots that I'd look at as sort of flexi spots right now for Guzma. Trust me, it's one of those cards that's been in and out of the list. And I still think it's definitely a very reasonable card to add back in, because, you know, Guzma's in every other deck, and there's a reason for that. It's very, very strong. So let's jump into the ladder and see what we can come up against. I see a fire deck. Now, this isn't necessarily an auto-win. Baby Bucephalon can be an awkward matchup for us, because they can simply be faster than us a good amount of the time. So definitely something to bear in mind. They are also sometimes playing Field Blower, which is another thing that can be a concern for us. We are getting to kick off here, which is nice. And looks like we have a pretty decent start. We have Ultra Ball for 2 waters, which is always great. We have a Quagsire for next turn. Looks like we're going to have to rely on an Instruct, though, which is a little bit scary. Oh, it is ReshiZard. And hey, look, we drew a Pokegear. That's excellent news. Now, I want to maximize the Pokegear odds, but at the same time, we want to change our Ultra Ball based on if we hit Pokegear or not. I think the best solution is to Pokegear first. Now that we've seen it's a 3-prizer, I can bench this more freely if we need to Instruct. So that's the reason why I'm going to Pokegear first. The high roll option being if we hit a supporter card, I can Ultra Ball for another Wooper or Ditto, and that would be great. Erika isn't the supporter we were looking for, I'll be honest. But it does mean we will not be going for Oranguru. It means we're relying on this Erika for next turn to draw us cards. Our opponent can Double Blaze us turn 1 to knock out the Wooper, which is a small concern. If we're not going for Instruct, we don't need to bench this. I'm just going to attach a Ditto and pass. But this Erika, though, small concern. Also, obviously, bear in mind that a lot of ReshiZards will try and let loose. They've seen us with an Erika, so they may still let loose us here. I doubt it, though, but it's something they may have to do if they want to reload their hand. There's a ReshiZard number 2. There's their own Wishful Baton, very interesting, and they play Fiery Flint. So, because they got rid of a Welder, that tells us there's another Welder in their hand, and they're going to start swinging right now, by the looks of things. Yeah, 2 Welders in their opening hand isn't bad at all. Here we go. Attachment for turn, Double Blaze GX, turn 1. We're only getting a 2-card draw off this Erika's, which is pretty scary. Let's see what we can see. Well, that's real bad. That's real bad. No 2 ways about it. That ain't good. Is Washout Retreat correct? Is Washout Retreat correct? Losing 2 energies sucks, but losing a Quagsire sucks as well. It's trying to save a Quagsire worth an energy. We know our opponent's hand has 2 more fire, or at least 1 more fire energy. Man, this is rough. I'm just going to pass. This feels bad, though. Our opponent's going to continue to Welder. Do they have 3 Welders in their opening hand? Poggers. He's going to put 5 energy on, which makes no sense, but sure. There's literally no reason for him to put a 5th energy on now that he's GX'd, but you do you, bro. You could have manually attached to this one or this or whatever, but whatever. Okay, Pokegear is our second chance pro. This is not a lost cause, because we can still make big comebacks with some nice type coverage. That's the plan. I think I'm going to Cynthia rather than Instruct for 1. Because we do have a lot of discarding options. And we've drawn into some of those discarding options. Let's grab Wooper. We can Aqua Patch Instruct. And maybe Viridian after that. I think we can still make a comeback. Those are 2 pretty good cards. It means I can't Viridian. Do I have to Viridian away this Volcanion Prism? I think I do, yeah. We need to get manual attachments in here. It's just something that has to happen. Could Towering Splash for 20 if we wanted to. Probably not the play. They're going to go for a greens here. 3 Welders in our opponent's discard pile. They're going to grab Switch and Guzma. Okay, sure thing. They're going to Field Blower away at Viridian. Okay. And they go for Outrage for 30. They can't Flare Strike, remember. We draw Counter Catcher, which I really don't want to play. But I will just to get Instruct draws. We don't care about what he can do. It's just the prize trade is the only way that we can win this game. So we have to do this just to draw more cards. Because we are such a clunky deck that we just have to draw cards here. I'm going to keep attaching all across the board because if we hit our Quagsire, we hit our Quagsire. We need to hit Quagsire Nag. Oh. We did. And this will show you that this is such a favorable matchup that we can basically brick and still win. It's part and parcel of this deck that you can just brick and win. And it shows just how favorable this matchup is. We have a Stretcher for Quagsire if he's going to go for any Guzma plays. And we can just go for the Super Splash here. Now, our opponent does have a non-GX attacking option here, which could make life a little bit scary for us. But currently there's 5 energies on their bench dude, and they've already played 3 Welders. And they greensed for a Guzma last turn, so maybe we can get away with it here. They have to have their last Welder in hand. And that's not a Welder, so that's good for us. Okay, he's going to grab himself Welder. Okay, that makes sense. The thing is, he can't win in enough attacks, right? Like, now that he's used the greens, he can't one-bomb this in any way, right? When he has the baton here, he can't one-bomb us in any way. So I think we're chilling now. I think we just win by announcing Super Splash a bunch of times. We're going to prepare for anything, though. Prepare for... What do we need to be prepared for? We need to be prepared for Field Blower. That's the only thing we're really all that concerned about. Won't play the Aqua Patch because there's only one water in the discard that we can charging up instead. It's somewhere like this where you're like, oh, the Guzma would be game at any point here, but we don't play it, so. We have to Super Splash. He comes in, attacks with this guy, doesn't one-shot, then he comes in, attacks with this, and we should have safeguarded ourselves around Field Blower at that point. So I think we're fine. They're going to attach in greens again. Ram, grab, choice band, switch. Can they win by... Oh, okay, they're going to choice band here. I was thinking, yeah, no. I don't see a way that they can win. Really? So we will just lower our hand size. Cynthia for reload. Looking for a Rescue Stretcher and more energy cards is basically it. So we're trying to fully defend against Field Blower at this point. And we'll Super Splash for an irrelevant prize, but it means he has no more lifelines to waste. It's just the ReshiZard left. He can take 3 prizes this turn, and we can respond pretty easily. Even with a Field Blower, we are holding double Aqua Patch and have double charging up. So I think that should be game. We're going to see some Acrobikes. There's energy number 6, sure. And Flare Strike. Cool, so we were able to get over the line even with some pretty awkward draws. Yep. Game on board. Nice win against the fire deck. After the ugly hand. The Pokegear wasn't quite salvation. It got one of our... Well, we had 2 of our 10 being Erika's, which were like bad draws. There is some argument to Erika being worse if there are going to be more quad green base builds, but I think a lot of the ReshiZards are more likely going to be other builds, like Jirachi based. Pretty ugly hand again. We've drawn 2 of our Aqua Patches, which is something you never really like to see. We're up against a Hooper though. We don't mind seeing Hooper. I actually don't hate that Mars because it makes our Lily stronger. We'll go ahead and grab a Poipole. This could be an attacking Hooper build as well, don't forget. And not insignificant anymore. And attached to Wooper. Do we ram? Ram lets him Ace Arola. Don't think we want to ram. I think we'll just pass. We've drawn all 3 of our Aqua Patches. I don't play 4 copies just to not draw into these, but we've drawn into them nonetheless. Okay. He's going to Crushing Hammer and play a Judge. Okay. Sure thing. He's got the memo that QuagNag can brick. But we found ourselves Quagsire and Ultra Ball for our Nag. And then we can Lily. So we're doing okay. Here's our Infinite Energy Recycle. Here's Lily. Now we have even more access to energies. We can also instruct here. Yeah, okay, we can go for another one of these. Pass. It makes exactly Guzma better for him, but it's off of a judge. So I think it's fine. Wait, do they play Wailord just for health? Yeah, they must do. Right, hit Stretcher. Actually can hurt us a little bit. Crushing Hammer. Gets a Tails. And a pass. Okay. The reason we wanted to get this backup Wooper, by the way, is because they can obviously Lugia, Lost Purge stuff. And I don't want little Quagsire to get Lost Purged. That would be bad news. Let's draw 2 free cards. I'm just going to wash out an attack. Not much else we need to do here, to be honest. There's a Mount Lanakila. And Lusamine can get him some Marses back. Yep. I am going to play Cynthia here mainly just so I can get an extra manual attachment in. Baton seems fine to play. Right, 120. So we don't need to commit more than 3 energies. So we'll just swing for 120 here. Because we're already threatening game if we just wash it all out next time. So we're trying to play around a Lost Purge. Lieutenant Surge's strategy, that can double Mars. But he kind of needs more than double Mars. He needs some basics and some heals. Hit double supporter, PogChamp. Okay. So, if we wash out a bunch of energy to this guy, we lose to a Lugia play. It's pretty random though, because he hasn't had any Stevens just yet. Do I try and just push the tempo here? I think it's fine. It's so rare that he can actually punish this. Yeah, they're just going to scoop. It's hard for any stalling deck to beat this, to be honest. They have to play pretty well. Or they have to lure us into spending too many energy cards and that just get Lost Purged. Nice, nice. Playing 2 Mars is very high in any stalling deck. Surprised they have space for that now that they can play like Pokegears. Pokegears are so good. Why play 2 Mars when you can play 1 and an extra Pokegear? Broken. Oh well, let's get into our 3rd game. And we have a Mulligan. Not all that common with this deck. Play 11 basics. 10? Not 11. Going second, but we have an optimal hand, so I'd love to not get let loosed, but everyone knows we are, so don't even look at the hand, it doesn't matter. We're getting let loosed. A Pikarom. Time to show off the power of fighting Quag, if possible. Another potential include that I should have mentioned in the deck section was Gladion as a one-of that I've liked in QuagNag before. The Volc Prism, the Magikarp Wailord, the Fighting Quag, Oranguru. Those are 4 like individual one-offs that you love pulling out with Gladion. They're going to go ahead and grab turn 1 Lily, which sounds good. 1 Lightning so far in the discard pile. Energy on Dedenne. And a pass. No let looses. Pog Champiroonios. That's just the dream. Fighting Quag is here. We have all 3 stretchers. We have 3 batons. That sounds like good news to me. We're going to burn this Poké-Gear, we don't need it. We already have the backup Cynthia for next turn. And we're going to Cynthia for a bunch of cards. It's a lot of Cynthias. We'll hold this hand. Looks pretty good to me. 2 evolutions in Cynthia. If we can draw an energy, we can Ultra Ball. If they have Viridian Forest, we can Viridian then Ultra Ball to get energy in the bin for us. Oftentimes, Pikarom will play Viridian Forest as well, so that's good news. It's not very easy for them to get a one-shot on us. They're going to start by Electropowering here. Maybe just a Lily for a couple cards. Oh, Erika's. Okay. There's their second Dedenne. 3 Guzma's gone. Trying to find themselves Thunder Mountain. Oh, Pog. And E-Switch? Oh, the dream. The dream. Nice one, Dedenne. You did it. You did it, bro. It's all you. That's pretty poggers. One thing we are super afraid of is a Tag Bolt GX attack. But it's moments like this where you're like, man, I'm glad we have a 3 energy attacker rather than a 4. You know what I mean? Now, Volc Prism can be a good way for us to get energies, but... Sorry, energies into the discard pile, but we can't really risk it. We basically need to find a Viridian Forest. If we find Viridian off the Cynthia, it's going to be excellent. Do I just go for it? Yeah. Viridian Energy is the dream here. Viridian Energy is the dream. Let's go. Oh, no. So sad. Sad face emoji. Well, we have lots of backup Woopers at least. Give him the little water gun for 40. Oh, we were close, bro. 3 Viridians in the deck. Feels bad, man. Well, at least we have Pokegears. I had to discard a lot of Cynthias for this play. So at least we have Pokegears. The Tag Bolt is going to feel pretty strong here if he goes Quag. We'll be digging for some Rescue Stretchers, that's for sure. Pikarom is typically one of our harder matchups. Even with this boyo. Like, he's already got value from his first Pikarom because he's taking 3 prizes. And if he's able to take 4 prizes with this guy, he just gets so much value on us. He probably shouldn't be attaching here. Should be attaching here. Like, he shouldn't make the game that we kill 2 of these for win. He should make us kill other stuff. But we'll leave him to it. Oh, he went for Naga. Interesting. I actually don't mind that. Too much. Unless he plays Field Blower, then I definitely mind it. Okay. Pokegear into Rescue Stretcher. Let's go. I think it's important enough for us to hit the Stretcher this turn that we have to burn this as well real quick. This lets us draw more cards, which is even better. Let's go. Please, Rescue Stretcher. Okay, very good. Very good indeed. Guess who's back? And just like that, we're back in the game. Now we pray for no Field Blower. That's our next thing. Order pad. Let's go. Oh. Crumbs. Also, us not having a Counter Stadium is really bad. If we had had Stretcher Stadium, obviously I wasn't praying for that because that's greedy. But if we had, man, it's a blowout, right? He still has his Cocoa Prism, I guess, but... yeah, maybe it's fine. Maybe it's just fine. Whoa, he's attacking with this? He 100% should have energy switched and done Plasma Fists here. Now he loses to 1 more attack. The greed. The greed, though. Yeah, I was just about to say there's an argument for us to attaching more batons here to play around Let Loose. I was thinking, like, play around Field Blower, but it actually doesn't matter as much as the Let Loose does. It's fine, we have Instruct Master. He'll get us into glory. Okay, full blitz. So, 1 more Stretcher and we win. Easy clap. It's a good amount of our supporters played, though. That's the only concern. Viridian can fin some cards for us, which I appreciate. 2 stretchers in deck with 4 supporters also in deck. Not the best odds. With a 22 card deck, drawing 3. It's not great odds. Not great. But we'll see. Oh, Lily gives us hope. We can attach and Lily. Yeah. Well, that's a miss, obviously. So can we win if we go for like a 2-shot on this? We've played our Counter Catcher. No, we have not played our Counter Catcher. So now it's a 2-shot for the Pikarom is our win condition. So we get denied by Acerola. But other than that, we can win with a 2-shot this way round. If we can find our Counter Catcher next turn. That's the new plan. Swing for 120. Find Counter Catcher. Win. New plan. Don't let them Acerola. Step 1. Somehow. They just don't have it. Easy. Step 2. Hit our Counter Catcher this time. I wish I had played those batons. I guess I was in... I mean, yeah. The batons should have been played last turn. Let's see what they can come up with. They're going to Ultra Ball away some stuff. I think if they should do anything, it's probably Guzma the Oranguru, right? They're going to grab another Let Loose. So they play double Dedenne, double Let Loose, and Lele. That's pretty wild. Pretty wild. There's a Lily for 3. If they're doing this, they should have taken no target. Okay. They're going to make us find Counter Catcher, which makes sense. Okay. We are all in. So there it is. We're digging pretty deep for this, to be fair. We can thin the deck a good amount. We have an 8-card dig if we find playables off the Instruct. We find a playable. So it has to be in the top 5 of 9. Feels good, man. Feels good, man. Come here. Nice. We got him. We got the Quagman. Whew. Well, after a bit of a whiff off the stretcher. And remember, we whiffed the... what do we whiff? Even before we whiffed the stretcher, we whiffed the Viridian, right? So after a couple of whiffs, we were still able to get over the line. It feels pretty good. Feels pretty good. So let me know what you guys think about the new Quagsire archetype. I think Pokegear has definitely helped us out with a few stumbling blocks here and there. Still some consistency issues. Let's take that with a pinch of salt, of course. And Guzma could have been helpful in a couple of our games, so bear that in mind. Both games, we were like, I wonder if Gust will win us the game here. So I think the 1 extra Guzma is definitely a consideration card for this deck, but... Other than that, pretty fun archetype. It is clunky, but has good type coverage and can uptrade on tag teams. So that's good news. You have infinite energy recovery against Mill as well. So is there anything Quagsire can't beat? let me know down below. And I'll be back with more Unbroken Bonds stuff tomorrow. Hope you enjoy, guys, and I hope you put up with a bit of a sore throat. But I'm doing my best right now, so if I was coughing, breathing loudly, or sniffing or anything, I do apologize. But I'll be back tomorrow with another Unbroken Bonds video. Cheers.